So coming up on the book club, tomorrow Friday we're going to discuss Middlemarch. It's a novel by George Eliot, and I first got turned on to it by watching the excellent 1994 BBC adaptation. I think it's like a 6-part series. I watched it on Netflix, and then I watched the BBC Daniel Deronda adaptation, and like, whoa, this is really good. So I then got into the George Eliot novel, and yeah, it's probably the most highly regarded English novel ever. Middlemarch is probably the greatest English novel ever. So if you're curious where I am, I'm driving down La Cienega Boulevard headed towards LAX International Airport. So I'm about 7 miles away from LAX right now. Of course, it's rush hour traffic. It's about 7 p.m. And yeah, I love the audio book of Middlemarch, and I just listened to it over and over again. Oh, another thing that tipped me off to Middlemarch is that I interviewed this guy with the Center for Immigration Studies, and his name will come to me, Stephen Steinlight. I think I interviewed him in 2009. He used to be with Students for Democratic Society, and then the last 15 years become a real immigration patriot, and just a brilliant, fascinating guy. And I was talking to him about Orthodox Judaism and Torah as a moral guide, and he made the point that everything that he felt that he needed to know about morality, he didn't need the Torah. All he needed was Middlemarch, and that so grabbed my attention. I never forgot that statement that Stephen Steinlight, this brilliant Jewish intellectual, said to me that all he needed for moral education was Middlemarch. And it's a book written by a woman. I don't think it could have been written by anyone but a woman. And it's just, you just turn it and turn it like a page of Talmud. And there are just so many insights to be gleaned from Middlemarch. He just has such keen insights into the human condition that now that I've been through it several times, I have complete empathy for what Stephen Steinlight said, that everything you needed to know about morality you could find in Middlemarch. So along La Cienega Boulevard on the way to the airport, we'll be going by some oil derricks. So they still pump oil, and in the hills, those are the Black Beverly Hills. You can see the hills there. It's where the elite blacks, many of the elite blacks, have created their own community. About 8 miles from downtown Los Angeles, about 6 miles from USC. So KABC Radio used to be near here, where Dennis Prager used to do his radio show, and where I visited him in 1994. He invited me to sit in on his radio show, so it was just up the street here. I remember, as is my personality, of course I didn't want to be late, so I planned to get there 15 minutes early, and I got there 20 minutes early, and there wasn't really a place to park, so I went inside. And then when I went inside, they must have notified Dennis Prager, and he brought me in early, and he said to me during commercial break, you're 20 minutes early. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, should I go back out? And he said, no, I just want to make sure that you understand you're 20 minutes early. So usually that served me pretty well in life, to show up to particularly important events 20 minutes early. But sometimes if there's no parking, you can be placed into a funnel, and it doesn't work out as well. So there's a book by a New Yorker writer where she talks about her experience reading Middlemarch over different decades of her life. So, a famous book, it came out about 5 years ago. There's an excellent YouTube video of this. Now, I think she's 45 years of age when she's writing this book. And she first fell in love with Middlemarch as a girl. Then as a young woman who's dating and loving. Then someone who was getting married, and then a mother. And she had a very different experience of Middlemarch through the different decades of her life, which completely rings true to me. There's just so much depth in Middlemarch that you turn it and turn it, and you'll find, you know, all these different insights into life. And it's always I think it's good to talk about, why does a particular text speak to you so much? And it's not just because the text is just objectively great, but why does it speak to me so much? And yeah, I don't know how to invite to hangouts just on my phone, and certainly while I'm driving down the road. I'm not going to do any Google Hangouts. But Middlemarch, to me, I love it because it's how I understand how the world works. That just as often as good people, bad people will have the sharpest insights. That goodness does not guarantee anything. That good intentions obviously doesn't guarantee anything. That a lot of good people live out of touch with reality and come a cropper, as you, and that there's often a very significant price paid for doing the right thing. Doing the right thing doesn't consistently lead to better economic returns, more social status, more access to women, more popularity in your religious community. And there are no heroes in Middlemarch. It's just a profound understanding of different perspectives, different experiences in life. And when I can't sleep, I just like to listen to Middlemarch. Often it will go for hours, and I'll kind of move in and out of sleep. And I guess I strongly identify with the protagonist, the beautiful young woman. I identify with her because she was such an idealist, that she came a cropper because she was so out of touch with reality, so out of touch with herself. And therefore, when you're not keenly aware of your own flaws, you're going to be much more likely to be fooled by other people. Like when you have recovery, you work the 12 steps, you have a pretty solid understanding of yourself, then other people are not going to confuse you, because if they confuse you, you know that they're either lying to you or trying to manipulate you. It's one of the blessings of working a solid spiritual program such as the 12 steps, and doing a thorough 4-step, the complete and fearless moral inventory. So we're going to speed up to about 60 miles an hour here, and we're waiting for the rain. Supposed to have the first rain in about 6 months, and any minute here it should be coming down. Clean up the air, clean up the roads. So I was driving in the opposite direction on La Cienega Boulevard. I made no claim. So there was a time there where I plowed times, never made a claim. Never played that game. And the all-black jury, no, there was like 2 or 3 blacks on the jury, and they wouldn't convict another young black man. There are too many already in jail, they said. So even though the evidence was overwhelming that he was driving drunk, they wouldn't convict a brother. So the other day I got a delivery of my groceries, and first time it was a woman who delivered the groceries. It was a black woman. She was driving a recent model Mercedes-Benz. So her job was delivering groceries, which is about minimum wage, and she was driving a Mercedes to go around deliver groceries. I know someone in the Los Angeles District Attorney's office, and he says all the attorneys drive Hondas and Accords and like these cheap cars. All the secretaries pretty much are black, and they're all driving Mercedes and Beamers. And they're on their iPads most of the day, and they get very annoyed if you ever try to get them to do any work. You belong to the city. You belong to the night. Notice as I get older that my eyesight for night driving kind of declines in quality. I don't see the different shades of gray as clearly. It's becoming noticeable. I'm age 52. Never had glasses, never had contacts, but probably next few years I'll have to look into that. Also, I notice a distinct decrease in my hearing quality as opposed to 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But don't need my hearing aids yet. So the Reverend Casaubon in Middlemarch reminds me of a lot of religious people I know who have delusions about their scholarship. I like so many Christians that I grew up with would make all these sweeping proclamations about the meaning of various religious texts, and like very sophisticated pronouncements. But the ones that I'm talking about, the ones who amuse me in that regard, they're not literate in the original languages of the Bible, and in Hebrew or Aramaic or Greek, and yet they feel completely fully qualified to pronounce on the meaning of this or that religious text. Like almost no Christian that I grew up with was literate in Hebrew, yet hundreds of them felt just completely qualified to pronounce on the meaning of Daniel 8:14 or Isaiah 53 or any other Old Testament text. So it's an example of not living in reality, of delusion, which George Eliot is so particularly sharp in pointing out. So an aid to living in reality, I found, is to accept the axiom that when we are disturbed, that there is something wrong with us. That there's an aspect of reality that we are denying. So you can't really practice patience. You know, we're taught to develop the character trait of patience and to practice patience. But the whole need for patience comes from when you deny reality, when you deny the material circumstances that are not aligning as quickly as you would like, and so then you try to practice patience. But once you start to try to practice patience, it's a huge flashing red light that you're already out of touch with reality. When you accept reality, there's no need to practice patience. You just accept that the traffic is what it will be, that other people are not going to behave as you wish, that you don't control other people. And when you accept reality, there's no need to develop your patience.